everybody, welcome to the third episode of the Truest Crime. Today's case is actually a case that happened back in 2021, and it's a fairly popular case. You guys might have heard about it, might have seen it on the news. It's kind of a disturbing case, and it's a case that kind of really remains unsolved because nobody knows what happened to this girl. This is the case of Gabby Petito, and I just want to make a disclaimer that all of the opinions in this video are my own opinions, and nothing is factual except for the information that I have been able to research to the best of my ability. So let's sit down, grab a snack, and take a deep dive into the truest crimes. This case has a lot of conspiracies, and I can understand why. Personally, I have a few of these conspiracies, and they might sound a little silly, but it's definitely worth thinking about and just discussing it. And for me, this case is just so strange. Gabby just disappeared, and her fiancé returned home without her in her van. I guess I don't really need a lot of the facts, considering that this case in particular doesn't have a lot of information, unfortunately. And it's just based on what is known to the public. And I really hope that you guys down in the comments can give some of your own conspiracies or some of your own theories. Gabby lived in the state of Florida with her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, and this is my own opinion. I think that Brian was just a complete scumbag, and it was obvious to some of her friends and her family that he was not exactly good to her, and he tried to manipulate her a lot of the time because he wanted to spend all of his time with her, and he didn't really want her hanging out with other people. And that right there is just really, really scummy. And I think a lot of you can probably relate to that in some way. And I feel sorry for Gabby and what she went through with this man. There was a lot of media attention involving this case, and two incredibly important people got involved in this case. Dog the Bounty Hunter, for one, and Adam Walsh, for two. And Dog the Bounty Hunter actually went out and searched for Brian after Brian went missing once he returned home without Gabby. And a lot of people from the get-go believed that Brian had something to do with Gabby's disappearance because she just didn't turn up. And that's where the conspiracy theories come in. And believe me, I kind of believe some of them. And I'm sure that there are some of you that believe them as well. Gabby would be reported missing by her mom on September 13th of 2021. And would be found about 7 days later on September 19th, 2021. And it's incredibly disturbing to know that Gabby didn't get to say goodbye to her family. She didn't get to really talk to them. And it's presumed that Brian, after he had unalived Gabby, that he took it upon himself to contact her family and put up the ruse that everything was fine, even though it clearly wasn't. And I think that's just terrible, because now her family doesn't have closure, and that's incredibly sad. I can't imagine what her family has gone through, but I think that Brian honestly took the easy way out because now he's presumed to be deceased. But I don't think people believe that. I think people believe that he's hiding out somewhere, and that's something that I believe 100%, and that's my own opinion. I wanted him to be served justice. I wanted justice to take this man and put him away forever, because that's what he deserves. When Gabby's remains were found, they were found in the Bridger-Teton National Forest in Wyoming. This is just weird. The whole thing was just incredibly weird. And there was actually a YouTube family who lived in a bus and was traveling the world that just so happened to be in the Teton National Forest during the time that Gabby and Brian were there. And they actually managed to capture footage of Gabby's van. And you can see in the background of this particular video that there seems to be somebody who's like digging or something. And you know this is Gabby's van because Brian was the one who would usually drive the van, and he had a hat, like a straw hat kind of, one of those big hats, and it was sitting right on the dashboard, and that's how you knew that it was Gabby's van. And then after that, nobody saw Gabby again. And it's just eerie. And I urge you guys to go look up that YouTube family. I will make sure to tag them down below in the description, but it's worth giving their video a watch because you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. It's just really eerie. After the manhunt for Brian had simmered down a little bit, his parents, as well as the local police department, were searching the swamp-like area where Brian was last seen going, and somehow they came out with a skull, or a partial skull, excuse me, and there was a backpack and a notebook, and in that notebook he does confess to unaliving Gabby, but he said it was out of compassion for her because that's what she was asking for after supposedly sustaining an injury. But I don't believe that that was the case. I really don't. And again, this is my opinion, but it just seems weird. And for that particular investigation involving Brian's unaliving, it was said that the partial skull was a positive match for Brian. But what people don't really seem to really understand is how could that have been possible? How could he have been reduced to just a partial skull? Even though there was wild animals where he was at, they wouldn't have done anything to him to reduce him to that state. That's just not physically possible. And people are just confused by this theory, and the person who did the autopsy on Brian was actually a family member. And this, unfortunately, is considered a conflict of interest. A conflict of interest is anything that involves a family member and anybody who is close to this person. And it can sometimes cause issues within the investigation and delay proceedings and anything else. So again, we really don't understand why they said that this skull belonged to Brian. I know this video in particular is just kind of me rambling on about this specific case, but because of the fact that there's not a lot of information for me to go on, again, as I stated in the disclaimer, all of the information that I have is what I have been able to research, and I am trying to recite it to the best of my ability. I want to be able to share with you guys this situation that happened to Gabby and why it's continuing to be an unsolved case. As I've stated in my previous videos, my videos specifically are to remember the people who have lost their lives due to these unfortunate events. And I want their legacy to continue to be spread in a positive way. This includes Gabby and John Bonet and Sandra Cantu and all of the people that I have already discussed in my previous videos. It's important that we understand that these were very real people and these very real things have happened to them, and they are no longer with us on Earth. And yes, it's an incredibly sad thing to try to comprehend, but as human beings, we have to understand that these things do happen. And just because they haven't happened to you doesn't mean that they can't happen to somebody else. And that is something that I have learned a lot being in the major that I'm in. We learn that these things are just going to happen, and while yes, they are unfortunate and shouldn't happen, there are people out there that feel completely differently and are the reasons why these people's lives are being taken from them. I really hope that you guys have enjoyed this video and found it engaging and informative in some way, and that you guys can understand the message that I'm trying to convey in these videos. I just want these people to have their stories told. And if you guys have any cases that you would like me to cover, please let me know and post them in the comments below, and I will definitely write them down, do the research, and make sure that I can tell these stories that you guys want to see. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I really do hope that you enjoyed this video. And please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This really does help me be able to make more videos for you guys, for those of you who are joining me on these deep dives. I really do appreciate you guys watching my videos. It means a lot to me that I'm able to make these and be able to share my passion with you guys. It does really mean a lot to me. So with that, I will leave you with this. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on another episode of The Truest Crime.